I'm just going downright rude this week. I've got a hat on. There's a little bit more about that. But first, I want to start the show and thank Ringside Beer for hanging out with us. Make sure you head over to their website, ringsidebeerstore.com. You can get an awesome t-shirt like the Ringside Beer Store or Ringside Beer shirt that I have on today. They've also got some amazing stuff. I've got the MMA glove tap handle. They got a black one now. They've also got the boxing glove tap handle. It's cool stuff. Make sure you check them out. You're helping out the show. You're helping out old Craig. And you're helping out Matt. And listen, I'm really looking forward to this card. Check them out, ringsidebeerstore.com. You can find them on Instagram too. They do a lot of neat stuff over there. And hey, let's keep the lights on. Let's roll into the next one. Another great Canadian company, Stardom Sports, out of Ontario, open since 1988. Make sure you give them a look. I mean, they've got a massive summer blowout sale going on right now. It's the end of the golf season. You can pick up some pretty good deals. I mean, a Nike Dry Fit Essential half-zip pullover, $44.99 Canadian, great deal. So make sure you give them a look at stardomsports.ca and check them out. Fight Night Picks is brought to you by Vertiball. Head on over to their website. It's vertiball.com. And listen, it's an awesome product. It's a local company out of New Brunswick, Canada. So make sure you support those guys locally as well as Fight Night Picks. But they're the only mountable portable muscle massager. They can stick onto any smooth surface. They've got an industrial strength suction cup. Can support over 100 pounds of pressure. You can get really into those deep knots. I have one here at home. I use it for my back and my shoulders from holding up that Fight Night Picks Pick'em trophy. But listen, make sure you check them out. It's a great product. Like I said, they're recommended by physiotherapists, masseuses, and chiropractors across Canada, the US, UK, and Australia. And they're used by countless professional athletes like Minka Fitzpatrick on screen there, as well as Clelin Ferrell of the Raiders. So if you head into the cart, make sure you check them out. So I've got a Vertiball massager in my cart right there. Use the promo code FNP. You're going to save 10% off your order. You're supporting this company here that I'm very passionate about in New Brunswick, Canada, and you're helping out us as well. So make sure you check them out, vertiball.com, promo code FNP, 10% off your order. And without further ado, let's get into it.
It's time
for 15 minutes of non-stop MMA, tackling the biggest news in the sport. Head into the chat and let us know how you feel. Live from Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. Here's your host, Craig Allen.
Oh boy, and we got a busy weekend of MMA. Listen, Bellator Milan's going on right now. We got UFC 253 coming on tonight in about an hour, 58 minutes away from the start of the prelims. I'm really looking forward to this card. Everybody hanging out in the chat, I appreciate you. It's going to get really, really busy over there as the show goes on. I've got somebody calling me a hoser, Sloppy Seconds. How's she going today, bud? And yeah, I mean, Sloppy Seconds, just classic Sean Avery reference right there. But hey, I'm really looking forward to it. Young Coco saying, let's get into it. And Travis Duarte hanging out. It could happen 21. Everybody's here, and I'm really looking forward to this card now. I said I buried the lead. The first thing in the description this weekend, the Fight Night Picks store is back. Holy smokes, I got to sell some products. But hey, I went ahead, invested in, let's switch it this way. A lot of these hats, I've got only 7 because I've sold a number of them. But hey, look at my nice long hair. I put the maple leaf on the back, spent the ched to get the leaf. So yeah, check it out, fightnightpicks.net. We've got Fight Night Picks baseball jerseys. That was just a fun one for me, but I'm really loving them. Nice printed on logo. We've got the Dry Fit shirts. The AirPods are popping out of my ears. The Dry Fit shirt with the logo. There's all kinds of great stuff, so make sure you check it out. FightNightPicks.net down below in the description. And Guani's saying, I'm wearing, yeah, what's in the backdrop? You know I am. You know I am. The Lumberjack apparel is always here to stay. And listen, I'm really looking forward to this card. I mean, the 2 title fights at the top. You got Israel Adesanya taking on Paulo Costa. And of course, as everybody knows, you get Dominick Reyes taking on Jan Blachowicz in your co-main event for the vacant light heavyweight belt. So let me know in the comments, are we going to get John Jones? Is he going to get jealous and envious? Is he going to pop back down to 205? Or is he going to stick it at 265? Let me know on that one. Donnie Taylor, what's going on, bud? Chris Thompson wheeling and dealing. We have to when you put a lot into the inventory. I mean, geez, I've got long sleeve shirts, I've got short sleeve shirts, I've got all kinds of stuff. So make sure you check it out, fightnightpicks.net, and hit that up now. So we've got all these great fights. What we do in Fight Night Picks question mark kicks, I'm going to answer your questions as best I can. Like I said, get into the super chat as quick as you can because that'll pop up. It helps the channel, but it helps me check your messages. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to Instagram on the old cellulars and we're going to check out the picks. So if you go into at Fight Night Picks on Instagram. You can find us over there, and that's where the voting happens for all of these fights. So we're going to go off of those votes rather than the Tapology. Mr. Luxury hitting us with a $5 super chat. Holy smokes, it's appreciated, Mr. Luxury. You're in here each and every single weekend. Dried Spicy Shredded Squid is as well, and time is not a line, so I really do appreciate you. Brandon Sanders hanging out, and like I said, Travis Duarte as well. What do you think if you had to pick Young or Royval? Well, I mean, I did pick neither of them. I picked neither of them, so I'm not, that pick's not going to change there. So what we do in the show, I go off the votes, I break down the fights, and then at the very end, I'll recap them. So if you pop in partway through, you're gonna have to wait till the end. I'm gonna recap the picks, unless you hit up the super chat, which Nige just did, and said thanks for continuously creating great content every week. Just bleed. Sometimes it's tough. Because, yeah, I mean, I've been away for the last couple of weeks. I'm sitting here using my laptop in a hotel room with, 10 megabyte per second internet or some stuff. Got to keep the swears to a minimum when we're live. But that's kind of the scoop there. So what we'll do, we'll go all the way down to the bottom. We'll go all the way back up to the top. And this fight in the YouTube comments was a bit of a weird one. I see a lot of people going with Danilo Marquez. I saw some people over in the comments as well. Some people think he goes away with a leg. I know I buried it in the original prediction video, the fact that Danilo Marquez fought some bad talent, just straight up bad. He's coming off quite a layoff as well, sitting at 9-2. I know LFA put the graphic up over on Instagram, the fact that it's a former LFA vet competing in the UFC. They do that for everybody that ends up in a bigger promotion. But with Danilo Marquez, I mean, what can I say? Last time he fought 2 years, 7 months ago. Yes, he has submission wins. Yes, he's trained under Damian Maia. He got his black belt under Rafael Cordero. All awesome stuff. I don't think it's going to help him in this fight. Now, the other thing that I do want to say, and I see it over in the chat, we've got Chickadee saying Marcus by KO. Chickadee, if Marcus wins by KO, I mean, you can host this show with me. I don't quite seeing that one happen. I see Ryan saying Hodis has been terrible. I know that much is true. He hasn't been good. I mean, he's lost 3 in a row since he's come into the UFC, and even his fight with Ed Herman where he lost by decision, he did not look very good. We've got Mac and Grits hitting us up in the super chat. Holy smokes at the $6.99. Great chats. Keep it up. Helped me kill it last week. Well, I appreciate you. And hey, not every single week can be great. Last week it was 9-4 with the draw. The week before it was 6-6. The week before that it was, what was it? 6-1, because we only had 7 fights, and then before that it was the 10-0. So it's been a wild week. Now, I like what Bailey Rippinger is saying. Fade Hadis all day. Yes, I'm going with Hadis Ibrahimov. I'm not gonna, spend a whole lot of time on this fight because, again, there's another good point that was made. Harley over there. Hadis barely made weight. He didn't look that great on the scale. He had to pop the old trunks down. They weighed him with the hoop. There were a number of fighters that had to be weighed with the hoop. Sijara Eubanks was another one, and then they took it off, and she was wearing her clothes. Either way, I do see people going with Danilo, but the people that are going with Danilo over on Instagram are few and far between. 54 votes for Danilo Marquez over on Instagram at Fight Night Picks. There's 147 that went with Hadis Ibrahimov, good for 73%. And Hadis Ibrahimov, in terms of the bettor's perspective, is one of the movers and shakers that we've seen this week. I know Danilo Marquez has gained, so Ibrahimov opened as a -240. That line went up as low, I guess you should say, as a -160, but the money's come back down on Hadis Ibrahimov in the last couple of days. He's a -196 favorite in this fight. Again, he has the submission abilities. He has the pedigree to kind of snuff out whatever Danilo Marquez is going to throw at him. I know the fact that Danilo Marquez, it says he's listed at 6'6". Somebody was pretty critical of us in the comments due to the fact that when they faced off, they looked about the same height. I'm sure shoes played a factor. I watched the quick and speedy face-offs, so I couldn't see what type of footwear they were wearing. But I would assume that, you had Ibrahimov maybe in some shoes, maybe you had Danilo Marquez in some flip-flops. I don't know. But again, this is one of those fade type of fights for me. And the pick is Ibrahimov. But yeah, he hasn't looked that good in the UFC. Marquez coming off of such a long layoff. I know it might be juicy where those odds are kind of closing in. But again, going with Ibrahimov, seems like a lot of people, Cam included, going with Danilo Marquez. So feather in your cap if he wins. If he doesn't, so be it. We move on to our next fight. And I'm really excited about this one because we have El Guapo. And no, this isn't Boss Rutan. Juan Espino, tough 28 winner taking on Jeff Hughes. We're talking lights out Jeff Hughes. And Jeff Hughes so far in his UFC tenure, it has not gone all that great. I mean, this guy, former LFA heavyweight champ, he had a win over Maurice Green. And then we move forward and he loses to Maurice Green in a fight where he stayed on his bike. But it's like he's riding a mountain bike that's 15 years old. Nobody's greased it and the wheels are flat. Because that's what it's looked like so far. I mean, Todd Duffy, he had him backed up until there was that dirty little, final play that everybody thought, well, the fight should continue except for his opponent, Todd Duffy. And then after that, I mean, for Jeff Hughes, it hasn't gone all that way. He lost the decision to Rafael Pessoa in a fight where, again, I take my hat off. I got to scratch my head. My hair looks even dumber when I'm wearing a hat. But, for me with Jeff Hughes, not all that confidence inspiring as we moved into here. Lorthos, the legend, agrees with me. Devin Brown saying he's going to fade with Espino. I agree with you a little bit just because Juan Espino is good and we haven't seen him in a while. Ryan, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. Everybody in the chat's really doing a great job today, so I do appreciate you. Juan Espino, in terms of favorites on this card, actually one of the bigger favorites, and a lot of money's come in on him. There's been a 31% shift according to Best Fight Odds, so if you look at it, it was a steep decline. Matt and I talked about that at the start of the week because Juan Espino opened a minus 220 favorite, now sitting at a minus 331 average. Jeff Hughes open plus 185, now at a plus 261. Not one of the underdogs that I'm going to go with tonight. It's just one that I can't go with. So if I look over into the comments, it could happen 21 saying keep it going with the underdog. RE, watch the Hughes Pessoa fight. I actually liked what I saw from him, but he lost to a guy. Now, there we go. He lost to a guy that Rafael Pessoa so far in the UFC hasn't looked that great. Branch above didn't like the way that Hughes looked at the weigh-ins. Espino looked pretty good. Pretty, one of the more, I don't know, photogenic type of guys that we have in the UFC. I just wish we get to see more of Juan Espino. If you follow Fight Night Picks since the start, since 2018, I know there's a lot of people asking us for fighter interviews. There's a lot of people asking for fight companions. We used to do those things. Where were you? You weren't hanging out back then, but you're here now, and that's what matters. But I've always been looking for Juan Espino. Come on, Juan, I'm calling you out. And then finally we get him. So like I said, I'm going to stick with Juan Espino. I think a sub prop's pretty nice. If I have a look at that over on Best Fight Odds, it's going to take me a second to try and find it. Espino wins by sub. Actually not the best odds. I mean, he's heavily favored to do so at a plus 127 average. So a lot of plus 125s, 130s, 150s, and so on and so forth. I like Espino. If you go over to, I'm looking at DraftKings, and I'm not a daily fantasy guy. You guys know that. But percentage handle on Espino by submission, 67% and 65% of the bets on that. So a lot of people thinking that Juan Espino is going to win this one by submission. And that's the way she goes. Martin D saying, where's your Fight Night Picks cap? You got to go to fightnightpicks.net into the store. I mean, they're Under Armour caps. They're not cheap, but hey, I'm not making a lot of money off them. I just want you to wear my stuff. So I'm looking forward to this fight. If we look over on Instagram, out of the picks, like I said I would, 83% of voters going with Espino. That's good for 171 total votes. We got 34 votes for poor old Jeff Hughes. He's not going to win a beauty pageant today, and that's the way she goes. So, move into our next fight. This one, very contentious. I went and had a look at the picks over on Tapology for this one. There's a lot more, obviously, than I have on my Instagram, but if you look at the picks for this one, they're about the same as they were at the start of the week. Out of 3,203 total votes on Tapology, 51% going with Knight, 86% saying he's going to win by decision. Out of the 49% that pick, Alexa Camur, 65% saying he's going to win by knockout. So a lot of people thinking this fight's going to end. A lot of people probably going to take the under on this one. For William Knight, he's either finished or been finished in every single fight. I know that one fight against Nchukwi, it was tough. I see Martin D saying William Knight is overhyped. Do you want me to hype him up more, or do you want me to hype him down? What do you want? Up, down, up, down. I'm going to go up. I like William Knight in this fight, and here's the reason why. Wrestling background and the fact that he actually has pretty good cardio. I like that because for Alexa Camur, in the fight that he had against Justin Ledet, it was just, there were moments where he looked amazing, but he expended a lot of energy. I like William Knight, whether he's backed up against the cage like he was in his fight on Contender Series. I know, again, the elbows where they did the back of the head. I don't know. But I like William Knight in this fight. Again, Alexa Camur, what can I say? There's all sorts of positive things that we can go with. the fact that he trains with Mr. Stipe Miocic. He trains with a guy that has one of the weirdest coffee commercials I've ever seen in my entire life. But again, I really like this fight. I think William Knight has a good shot. It should be a really interesting fight. Does Camur's go? Or does William Knight continue on a nice little path since losing at that little bit of a blip? And I mean, it's tough because we saw his opponent in that fight, the fight where William Knight lost, get a chance very young in his career on Dana White's Contender Series and look amazing this past summer as well. So I'm looking forward to this one. Like I said, going with William Knight, and a good point made by Devin Brown, the fact that William Knight weighed at one point just about 300 pounds, 297 as you say up there on the screen. Booch for Snooch saying Camur's flashy and loose. I agree with you, but again, I'm going to go with William Knight in this fight, not changing my pick there. If we have a look over on Instagram, at Fight Night Picks, 143 votes for William Knight. That's good for 68%. The other 32% is 67 votes total for Alexa Camur. Counterpunch MMA. Bam, bam. You're going with Alexa Camur. Devin Brown saying training is training. You're right. I mean, hey, Jessica I trained at Strong Style for a while. She fought for a title, so there is that. Al Talent Trading, your show is a must-watch. Thank you. I appreciate you. Kevin Erickson saying stop drinking Red Bull. It's hard but worth it. If you're talking to me, I have to talk fast because I'm 15 minutes into this. We still have a whole show to go through, all these fights, and we got to really get into it because it's Fight Night Pick Show. So I'm going with William Knight. Maybe watch it at half speed after the fact, but I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. So we move into the next fight. This is my favorite fight on the card, and Matt and I talked about this in a couple of specific terms. Now, it's unfortunate that William Knight, my goodness, Ludwig Klein weighed in overweight. Now, it was 4 pounds over the weight limit. He weighed 150 pounds. So again, 146, 150, you can do the math. It was unfortunate that we get that because we've seen Ludwig Klein over on the regional scene with Octagon. The guy looks amazing. The guy can throw nice spinning techniques, really crisp boxing combinations, really, really good stand-up. And again, we talked about it. He has boxing. He has Muay Thai. There's a lot of things to really like about Ludwig Klein. I wonder if he fights Shane Young, is Shane Young just going to go straight in, fish for the takedowns? Because I know, and I see the people over in the comments, I see you over there. Again, Kevin Erickson saying, I avoided this because of Klein missed weight. Sloppy Seconds can't really get an idea. Counterpunch is going with Klein. And Giancarlo saying Young was great with the haka. Kamate, kyora. That's all I remember from the haka. And then, ugh. Now, hopefully I didn't just alienate a whole load of people. That was my best little rendition of a haka. But Shane Young did a lot better of a job than I did. Now, overall, Shane Young is that next kind of generation of mixed martial artists. He can do it in a lot of different ways. He can throw nice combinations on the feet. When he's on the mat, it's not like he's totally, lost. And that's the thing. You have an exceptional striker, as First Last is saying. You've got Shane Young that can really do a lot of things very well. So let's have a look into the picks over on Tapology because we're going to get a good swath of the population voting on this fight. And if we have a look over there at 3,214 votes, 65% going with Klein, 65% saying he's going to win by knockout. I think that's a little aggressive on the part of those voters. If we have a look over at the odds, Ludwig Klein is the second biggest mover and shaker this week. He opened as a plus 125. Right off the hop, a lot of people were putting some cheddar down on Shane Young, so Klein got up to a plus 158 average. Klein is now a minus 133 favorite. Young is now a plus 110. So a little interesting there in terms of this fight. It really is because Shane Young, like I said, City Kickboxing. He's the first of the City Kickboxers on this card. You've got Young, you've got Riddell, you've got Kai Kara France, and then in your main event, you've got Israel Adesanya. The other thing I want to say, Eugene Behrman, is he the best coach in MMA? I think he's definitely one of them. It's got to be Behrman, Saif Saud, or maybe even toss in a Mikey Brown or one of the bigger gyms. I mean, we haven't really seen Firas Zahabi doing a whole lot with the crew over at TriStar, but overall, in this fight, I like Ludwig Klein. I like the striking acumen. And unless the weight cut totally threw him off, I think he should be able to get the win. And that's a bit of a premonition hint moving forward because we had two fighters that totally missed the featherweight limit. And we will get into that one very shortly with our next fighter. So, Counterpunch MMA makes a really good point with Trevor Whitman. You are on point there, sir. Elevation, doing things. So, we get into this fight. Branch above going with Kavanaugh. you haven't really seen many SBG fighters winning titles lately. So we look into this one. We've got Diego Sanchez and Jake Matthews. And this is the fight where, again, a lot more money was coming in on one of these fighters. We have the biggest mover and shaker by 3%, with Jake Matthews at 41%. So Klein was at 38%, Jake Matthews at 41%. I don't see why. Matt and I talked about it at the start of the week. Matthews opened as a minus 450. He's now an average of a minus 776 over on best fight odds. Diego Sanchez opened plus 350, now at a plus 525. Now, I know we're going to get these cutesy people over in the chat. They're going to go with Diego Sanchez. Listen, he had a lovely smile when he's standing on the scale, sweating awful hard, and he weighed in right at 170. So there is that. It could happen 21 seeing Matthews fight to lose. Now, is this Maria Agapova situation against Shauna Dobson? No, it isn't. But overall, I really do think that Jake Matthews has a good shot at winning this fight. Now, the question that I've been asked in the Instagram DMs, will Jake Matthews win this fight by finish? I don't see it. It's not one that I would touch, again, because the odds are so swayed in Jake Matthews' favor. This isn't a fight that you touch. Don't be a silly goose. Just stay away from it. I don't think Matthews is going to get the finish. I know, the last time he got one was, 3.5 years ago or so. I know if we look over at the Instagrams, 181 votes for Jake Matthews, 40 for Diego Sanchez. If Diego Sanchez wins, it's through power, it's through will, it's through crystals, it's through good karma and energy. But apart from that, I don't have Diego Sanchez in this fight whatsoever. I'm going to go with Jake Matthews. And like Sloppy Seconds is saying, no value. I'm going to stick it with Jake Matthews. So through the start of this into our featured prelim, I haven't changed any of the picks from earlier on in this week. In this fight, going to be a little bit of the same. Now, we have Brad Riddell, the former striking coach at Tiger Muay Thai. I started our video by almost saying, and I was close, almost saying that it was Phuket top team, but it wasn't. Brad Riddell, again, the second of the city kickboxers on this card, taking on Alex de Silva, coming at us from Brazil. Now, it's tough because Alex de Silva on the regional scene, lots and lots of experience. And that's something that Matt and I, when you get a young fighter with that much experience coming in, has a very good opportunity because you've learned from a lot of different things. Now, was he winning more than he was losing? Well, of course. I mean, look at his record, 21-2. Of course he was. But really good experience on that Brazilian regional scene. He comes in, he had the fight against Yakovlev, and then after that, another fight where you go, okay, well, Alex de Silva, I mean, he beat Kazula Vargas. What does that tell me? It doesn't tell me a whole lot. Kazula Vargas looked like he could be a total world beater and he could fight for a title tomorrow after he fought Brock Weaver in a fight that he lost because of the illegal knee. Vargas did look good. Go back and watch that fight. So for de Silva to beat Vargas, is he going to fight for a title? No, probably not. It didn't tell me enough. So he goes from that step to Brad Riddell. Brad Riddell in that Magomed Mustafayev fight, it was really close. Mustafayev I hold in really high regard, and he beat the brakes, to use one of Matt's terms, he beat the brakes off of Jamie Mullarkey. So I've seen a lot of really good things from Brad Riddell, and it's one of those ones where I just have to stick with the original pick of Riddell. I see it over in the comments. You guys like the silly gooseness. Yes, FM, Brad Riddell can at times be a silly goose. We go through... Seems like most people going with Brad Riddell. Let's see. Elder saying, can Brad Riddell finish him? There's a chance. I mean, Alex de Silva, pretty decent fighter. Again, with a lot of good experience. I just think it's too big of a step up in this one. Out of the picks on Tapology, 3,290, 87% going with Brad Riddell, 68% saying he's going to win by decision. I'm siding with that as well. If you look over on best fight odds, he's quite a large favorite, more than a 3-1. A little bit of late money coming in on De Silva and then popping it right back down. Riddell open as a minus 240 to kick this card off. So we have a look at our prelims. And again, the picks that are over on Instagram at Fight Night Picks. You've got 157 for Riddell. You've got 60 for De Silva. That's good for 72% for City Kickboxing's Brad Riddell. So, seems like a lot of people are going with Riddell. I like Counterpunch MMA saying that Riddell should win, but Silva's a dangerous fighter. I agree with you. Jerger Binks saying cage size. It's a full-size cage. And Devin Brown saying Riddell will stuff the takedowns. I think he will as well. One DMO saying De Silva strong in the clinch, but he's very young. Yes, that's true. I'm really looking forward to this fight. I think it should be a good one. Again, it's a good prelim card. It's not one where, it's going to wow you with name value, but I think overall it should be a pretty good one. So I've got Riddell here. I've got Matthews. I've got Klein. I've got William Knight, almost messed up. I've got Juan Espino. And then to kick us off, I've got Ibrahimov. So we go back up. We're going to look at our main card. Hakeem, Dawudu, Zubaira, Tukhugov. I got to stop for a second and look at one of the good questions that's over in the comments section by Steppen Park saying, ever thought about DFS advice? I know absolutely nothing about DraftKings, but Derek Chung, that has joined Fight Night Picks, does. I'm going to hit him back up to see if he can help us out. But yeah, I don't know enough about it, so I'm not going to touch it. But I'll continue on with the picks. And Connor Yates saying, hey man, I like your hat. It's an Under Armour hat. It's got a maple leaf on the back. It's pretty cool, eh? FightNightPicks.net and go over to the store on the right-hand side. And check that out. So, Hakeem Dawudu, the Canadian, taking on Zubaira Tukhugov. This is a really tough fight to pick. Devin Brown saying you can't choose. Like a pot saying Tukhugov missed weight on purpose. He didn't look like he felt bad about missing weight anyway. That much is true. And Ryan saying Hakeem's striking is so pure. We've also got Branch Above saying Dawudu looked a little drained at the weigh-ins. I don't think he did. I really don't think he did. But Zubaira Tukhugov can really get it done in a lot of different ways. He's the new age MMA fighter, but he was doing it at a time before a lot of people were. So had people really had the chance to catch up to Zubaira Tukhugov? Well, he had that fight against Lerone Murphy, and I think a lot of people slept on Lerone Murphy. Since we've seen him in the UFC, hasn't he looked good? I mean, he looked good in that fight against Ricardo Ramos. So in this one, you got Zubaira Tukhugov that missed weight by 4 pounds. You got Hakeem Dawudu that I think he actually looked pretty good on the scales. His striking's great. His wrestling isn't bad. I'll bring it up on UFC stats because we have enough of a background. It might slow me down here in terms of computer speed, but we have enough of a sample size in the 5 fights that we've seen from Hakeem Dawudu. 85% takedown defense. If we look at him just as the fighter, Julio Arce got a takedown. Kyle Bochniak got 2. Again, that's what I talked about in the original prediction video. The fact that Hakeem Dawudu, if you're getting taken down by a primary striker and Kyle Bochniak, that's not a good thing. So it's kind of tough there. Wyatt Kenny saying Dawudu's not going to be dominated in the wrestling department. Hey, you're from out west in Canada. I know you. You're here every week. You're going to go with the Canadian and Hakeem Dawudu. So Matt had picked Dawudu, and this is where we're going to differ. I picked Zubaira Tukhugov. I really like, the upside in Tukhugov. Missing weight, and I hate to say that, but I think the 4 pounds probably aren't going to hurt him. Striking differential certainly side to Hakeem Dawudu. And again, since we've seen Tukhugov back, a win over Aguilar tells me a lot about this one because Aguilar, a good wrestler, hard shots, but a good wrestler. 100% takedown defense for Tukhugov as well. He likes to shoot. His accuracy's half decent. And for all those reasons, again, I'm going to stick with Zubaira Tukhugov in this one. I see a lot of people agreeing, disagreeing, and Branch Above saying, do I ever think about doing a live stream during the fights? I used to, but I don't anymore because I like drinking a couple of pops and, sucking back a couple of Coors and watching the fights and not talking about them because I get tired from talking on this show, but I do appreciate doing it. So let's get into the next one. Eubanks saying Ibrahimov such a bad pick, haha. Is Danilo Marquez really a good pick? No, it's a fade all day. It's a fade. So we look at this one. Ketlen Vieira without her head coach in Mr. Andrea Pedernales, which is really interesting because he really brings that whole team together. The lifeblood of Nova União. We're not going to have him here. We got Sijara Eubanks popping in, repping New Jersey at this point. And a good, a really good camp over there. And since she's made the switch, she's looked great. She really has. And her last 2 fights has looked good. Sarah Morris, take it with a grain of salt. What's a win over the cupcake worth? I can tell you what a win over the cupcake is worth. An extra win over Julia Vila. And she looked great in her last time out. Absolutely dominated Julia Vila. But here's the thing. And again, this is one where I would stay away from it. Matt the Mick, a case of pops on me, man. Well, a case of pops up here is expensive. If you're a Canadian, you'd know that, but it's very expensive up here. Not even close to what it is in the States. And I wish we had some ringside beer here, so make sure you check them out too. Guani Mateus saying Eubanks has been hyped too much. I disagree. I think she's been hyped up enough. I could talk about Sijara Eubanks all day and how good she's looked, how good her takedowns have been, how crisp her boxing has been. And she really did a good job over Julia Vila due to the fact that Sijara Eubanks has that black belt in her back pocket that not a lot of people talk about. Now, for Ketlen Vieira, we're talking about a Brazilian national wrestling champ, a Brazilian judo specialist. She's got jiu-jitsu in her back feet. I didn't like her striking against Irene Aldana in her last fight. It's definitely what lost it for her. I know she was just on the end of one of her shots when Aldana connected. Aldana's striking is amazing. Harry Braun saying Vieira takes a lot of damage. I agree. Adorable Cheetah saying, where's my friend, dude? He works on Saturday nights. He always does, so it sucks. We can never get him for question mark kicks. But in terms of this fight, Ketlen Vieira is a tough one to go with, and that's why I don't really like her as the favorite that she is. At this point, she opened as a minus 280. That line popped up, then it went back down. She's minus 200. Favorite is Brazil's Vieira. Eubanks opened plus 240. It dropped, and then it went to a plus 166 tonight. So that's where the line sits right now. It's a little bit of a head scratcher. If I look over on Fight Night Picks, at Fight Night Picks on Instagram, 152 votes for Ketlen Vieira. That's good for 69% of the votes. The other 31% going with Sijara Eubanks as we continue on. If you want to go, a little bit deeper, as Trevor Bennett says, we go with Molson's. Molson Coors, their partnership. So I guess technically, LeBeau saying, where's Blue Shirt? Blue Shirt's got a name. Matt works. Time is not a line saying fight goes to a decision. So if Eubanks wins, more than likely going to go to a decision. Vieira, more than likely could get a finish in this one. I really do think so. Sustainable Man saying I would quit that job if I was Matt working on Saturday night. Well, Sustainable Man, you got to hit up the super chat like Matt the Mick did. Or everybody else that hit up the super chat. And you got to buy the merch. That's the only way that we can get Matt here for our Saturday night show of question marks. This should be a good fight. Let's look into the next one. And wabam, we've got Kai Kara France taking on Brandon Royval. So we always talk about Striker's Paradise. We talk about Clash of Styles. It's always interesting when you get a fight like this because you got Brandon Royval, who has that submission ability. And he's fought a decent he's fought a decent mix of fighters on the regional scene. Comes into the UFC, takes on Tim Elliott, looks really good. So they give him a big step up in competition to Kai Kara France. Now, Kai Kara France, is his takedown defense all that great? You tell me. Is it all that great? I don't know if I'd say that, but his striking is really the bread and butter. He is very well-rounded, and so far in the UFC, every fight's gone to a decision. But again, that's striking. You got 5.27 strikes landed per minute to 3.79 given, taken. His striking accuracy, 38%. That's not all that great. Defense, 67%. That's what I like because he's not getting hit at the end of those shots where Royval's a longer fighter. He's going to be stringing combinations together, or is he? He's a southpaw, so he's going to give Kai Kara France a bit of a different look, but I think at the end of those shots, he's going to try and shoot and take the fight down to the mat. Kai Kara France with 90% takedown defense. He's fought some slippery fighters. Mark De La Rosa likes to take it to the ground. Tyson Nam, kind of well versatile. And you've got Brandon Moreno as well. Now, I know he lost that fight to Brandon Moreno, but to me, Brandon Moreno, future, title challenger, I think, is Brandon Moreno. So overall, I see no please saying Kai needs to have that takedown defense. I think Kai Kara France is going to win this fight by decision. I'm not going to be changing my pick. I see, again, people are saying Royval, Dan MMA picks saying Brandon will win by submission. Guani Mateus saying Brandon looks like a Diaz brother. Does he? He kind of does, I guess. Like Chris Avila. And you've also got one Diamo saying I take Royval's gym versus Kai's gym any day. I know Artem the Goat keeps saying who should Kai Kara France fight if he beats Royval. There's a lot of fights you can make up at the top. Again, I know these guys are top 10 type of guys. So there's a lot of different people. I don't have the time to look through the rankings. I apologize, but that's one that I could cover if he wins before his next fight. So I'll just stick to that answer. But I'm going with Kai Kara France. If we have a look over on Instagram at the total picks, 152 votes for Kai Kara France to 74 for Brandon Royval. That's good for a 2/3 split, roughly a 67% for Kai Kara France. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think it should be a good fight overall. Again, I see more and more people going with Royval. The odds look good on Royval. We picked Royval to beat Tim Elliott, so there is that. And AG saying Riddell looked terrible on the scale. I didn't think he looked that bad. But let's continue on. So we've got a great co-main event coming up. We've got the vacant light heavyweight title on the line. Who's going to win this one? You've got the Devastator, Dominick Reyes, coming off that controversial unanimous decision loss to Jon Jones. Now, you don't normally hear controversial and unanimous decision used exclusively, but we can say that for that fight with Dominick Reyes and Jon Jones. Now, was it a chance where it was, to be the champ, you got to beat the champ? I think it was. Do the judges always see it that way? Not necessarily. But in that fight, Jon Jones 48-47, and the one odd scoring at the end overwhelmingly for Jon Jones. Now, I thought that Dominick Reyes had a really good opportunity in that fight. I think he looked really good in that fight. And on the way up, the one fight where I didn't love it was Dominick Reyes and Volkan Oezdemir. And you can definitely make a case that Volkan Oezdemir won that fight. He's got a big fight coming up against Nikita Krylov. But overall, Dominick Reyes, what can we say about the guy? He's had a pretty darn good run since he came up onto the scene. The knockout win over Cannonier. The fight against St. Preux, pretty boring. Wasn't all that great. The fight against Oezdemir, maybe he lost it. The fight against Chris Weidman, that was the biggest softball in the world. It really is. Now, the one thing that I don't like that's over in the comments, and I see it popping up more and more and more, is the fact that Jan Blachowicz doesn't have any power. You think that Jan Blachowicz doesn't have old man strength? You know he does. Scott Soko saying Polish power. Yeah. Jan Blachowicz has tons of power. I don't care if he only knocked out, fighters that were a little chinny. That doesn't matter to me. You look at the way that he fights, and he's like a Swiss Army knife. If it gets into the clinch, he can throw some elbows. So can Dominick Reyes. Jan Blachowicz has really nice pop in a shot. He throws those nice hooks. And again, if we go and look at the last 5, he submitted Nikita Krylov. That was 2 years ago. But Nikita Krylov is a submission artist. Now, you could counter me and say, well, Krylov loses by submission or wins by submission. You wouldn't be wrong, but Jan Blachowicz picked up a big win there. Then he lost to Thiago Santos, got finished. Thiago Santos had the closest fight with Jon Jones, being a split decision loss. So then he knocks out Luke Rockhold, does Blachowicz. He beats Jacare by split decision, which again, I think weighs heavily into this fight. And he knocks out Beast in 25-8 in Corey Anderson. So Guani Mateus makes a good point by saying it's volume versus power. I agree with you there. Dan MMA picks saying, I don't like how Reyes reacts to getting punched. I know it's a punch and it's supposed to hurt, but Jan has some serious power. Yes, he does. He really does. Now, that comment section getting incredibly busy. Again, if you want to super chat, helps old Craig. Helps me to buy shirts that don't match my background. Helps, check out fightinapicks.net. Maybe buy yourself a hat. Hang out. Hey, I got to sell myself, right? In this fight, again, Jan Blachowicz, really good power, really good striking. And with Dominick Reyes, yes, you're more than likely going to get volume versus power. If you look at the numbers, Dominick Reyes has really good takedown defenses, 82%. He has a better striking differential, 4.88 given to 3 exactly taken. In terms of their accuracy, both about the same, 49% to 48% of Blachowicz. The other thing, the fact that Dominick Reyes, a southpaw, that could throw a bit of a wrinkle in it. Jody Hyrola doesn't like me, but he threw in the $5 super chat for Matt, so I'll just take that one off the chin, water off a duck's back, and we'll go on with the show. But again, I like Dominick Reyes in this fight. I'm not going to change my pick, hint, for any of these fights. But yeah, I really do, like I said, like Reyes in this one. If we have a look over on Instagram for the votes, out of, we've got 278 total votes, 163 for Dominick Reyes. We got 74 for Jan Blachowicz. That's good for 69% on Dominick Reyes. And again, Seems like, there's some people that like Reyes. There's some people that like Jan Blachowicz. It's about 50-50 over there in the comments. Maybe phone a friend on that one. Let me know what you think. David Alvarez hitting us up in the super chat. Sean McMinn hitting us up in the super chat. The super chat's going crazy. I appreciate you. And I'm sticking with Dominick Reyes. Then we move into our main event of the evening. We got about 20 minutes left. Chris Thompson. Holy smokes. Hitting us up in the super chat. What percentage super chat goes towards Matt quitting? I mean, if you really want Matt to quit his job, I know from a bit of a little bird that, he's not loving it. So hopefully that didn't just sewer him. But maybe we get Matt going full time. We're still looking for an editor because I can't edit all the time. So there's that too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight. So let's talk about this main event. You have the last stylebender, Israel Adesanya, taking on Paulo Costa. The really interesting thing here, and I looked it up for Paulo Costa because he's taken on a level of competition that probably isn't the same as we've had for Israel Adesanya. And if you look at Israel Adesanya's rise, I mean, it's crazy to see where he's gone from his first fight in the UFC all the way to where he is now. And if you look at it as well, so he fights Rob Wilkinson, he's on the prelims. He fights Marvin Vettori, he's on the main card. Then he fights Brad Tavares. Ultimate Fighter 28 season finale, 27. That one was in the main event. And where I'm going with this, as David hits us up in the super chat, again, I have to appreciate you for a second. You're getting Matt out of work. That's what you're doing. So maybe we just get him to drive over. But Israel Adesanya has been fighting in main events since he was on the regional scene. I mean, he's going for his 100th pro win in combat sports. So, again, we're talking of his main events. Brad Tavares was a main event. The fight against Silva was a main event. The fight against Gastelum was a main event. The fight against Gastelum wasn't a main event, but it was 5 rounds because it was for a title. The fight against Whitaker, a main event. And then the fight against Yoel Romero, also a main event. See where I'm going with this? You have a fighter in Israel Adesanya that's been consistently fighting 5-round fights. For Paulo Costa, I went back and I looked at his regional scene fights. They don't mean anything. If you want to talk about Paulo Costa coming into the Ultimate Fighter, I also don't care about that. The thing that I care about is the fact that Paulo Costa hasn't had this consistency of 5-round fights. And in some of his fights where they were 3 rounds, he looked like he started to tire a little bit. Now, did he against Yoel Romero? No. The other thing about Paulo Costa, well, I mean, when was the last time we saw him in an octagon? It has been some time. I know he had the issues with his left arm. The last time we saw Paulo Costa, a year and a month ago. All right, so hopefully that wasn't too much of a slight on Paulo Costa. Robert is saying, thanks for all the insight, Matt. Well, I appreciate you. We got to get Matt out of here. But again, I'm Craig Allen, FMP. Joey hitting us up with $50 in the super chat. Matt should quit. I will send him the text message right now. All right, so as I talk, we'll text him and we'll tell Matt that money's coming in for Matt to quit his day job. So, holy smokes, this is insane. Yeah, I'm texting Matt right now. Super chat coming in. Quit your job. All right, so I just sent him that, and I'm not lying. Orlando hitting us up with the $9.99 in the super chat saying, you won me with Derek Minner last fight. You're really good at breaking these fights down. I appreciate you. Now, I don't want to get people too hung up on the fact that I'm slowing the show down. So I got to get into this pick, and then we'll recap the entire card. Paulo Costa, fire and fury, and we know exactly what we're going to get. He's going to push a pace. He can switch stances. He does rip nice kicks to the body, and I like that a lot of people were saying that. So, you really have to, keep that one there. Nige hitting us up with $5 in the super chat. Matt really does have to quit his day job. All right, so we're starting the Matt quit his job fund. We're up to $167 Canadian. Keep it coming in, and holy smokes, it's wild. What's the over-under that he quits his job? Probably under, but I'm going to try and get him for question mark kicks next weekend, so I will tell you that one. So, Paulo Costa, tons of pressure. Again, he has a UFC stat that trumps everybody else in the UFC, which is amazing. His strikes landed per minute number, 8.43, is higher than anybody else, but the absorbed number is at 6.84, and that's not good. Adesanya has a good differential. Adesanya has 86% takedown defense. I know Paulo Costa pulled that white belt out at the stare downs, and Adesanya did a little bit of a show and tell. Booch for Snooch hitting us with $5 in the super chat. This is wild. I could just stop the show now. where I'm going with this, I think Israel Adesanya might get backed up, but I think he's going to be able to move around. I think if Costa cuts off the cage, Adesanya can hit him with, strikes up the middle. He can hit him with some uppercuts. He can do a lot of really neat things. And again, I did see it in the comments, the fact that, Uriah Hall, if you watch the fight against Paulo Costa, Uriah Hall hit him straight up the middle as Costa came in. And then you had Costa drop to his knees and pop right back up again. Robert hitting up the super chat. Chris hitting up the super chat. Nige hitting up the super chat. Holy smokes, I appreciate you. And it's hard to follow. There's $192 in the kitty for Matt to quit. So, I can't believe it. $20 from Dried Spicy Squid. This is insane. Holy smokes, I appreciate you. And the devil laughs, as they say. Harry Brown with $5 in super chat. This is insane. Oh, man. This is crazy. I'm sticking with my pick of Israel Adesanya. It seems like a lot of people over on super chat want Matt to quit. It also seems like a lot of the people that are voting on Instagram at Fight Night Picks going with Israel Adesanya to get the win out of 280 votes. 165 for Israel Adesanya. 80 for Paulo Costa. Again, I see it over on Tapology. It's a lot closer than that. 68% of 3,587 going with Adesanya. 55% saying he's going to win by knockout. 86% of the people going with Costa saying he's going to win by knockout. $10 from Carlos Torres, the Matt Fund. $4.99 from Alexander Ryan. We're at $250 in the super chat. Matt's got to quit. Well, now it's got to happen. Arno Phillips, I keep hiding your messages, but you're getting mean in the chat, so there's no need for being mean in the chat because it's just going to cut you up. But Dan's MMA pick saying it's going to be closer. I think it's going to be close. I'm really looking forward to this fight. Sometimes I make fight picks, but I sit back, again, I rip a couple pops, and I enjoy the fights. Brandon Sanders with $5 in the super chat. This is insane. Again, Arnold Phillips is, Trevor Bennett with $10 in the super chat. This is the most we've ever had in the super chat. This is the most that people have tuned into the show. We have about 14 minutes left, so let's do this as Booch for Snooch hitting us up with $5 in the super chat. What I'm going to do, we're going to go back down through the card. I'm going to give you the final picks. Mr. Luxury, buy him out a pot for me when he gets off. He is over the age, although people tease us in the comments, he is over the legal age, so I will say that. Let's get into it. So, this is a fade, but I'm going with Ibrahimov. You can hate me later if you want. I've got Espino. I've got William Knight. I've got Ludwig Klein. I've got Jake Matthews. I've got Brad Riddell. I've got Zubaira Tukhugov. That one's a fade too. I've got Ketlen Vieira. I've got Kai Kara France. I've got Dominick Reyes, but I could see that fight going either way. And I've got Israel Adesanya. And still, you're at least going to have an and new. And I think this one should be a really good card. So overall, this has been the craziest episode of Fight Night Picks !Kicks. Matt's got to quit his job. Joel's asking for a lock. I don't have a lock. I get in trouble when I make locks. Beat Cassie really wants a live fight companion. It'll happen someday. Robert's hitting us up with a $5 super chat. Can you make a Fight Night Picks hoodie? I will, but I got to sell off the inventory that I have. So again, I've got the long sleeve shirts. I've got the t-shirts. They're the nicest ones. I wear those shirts actually all the time. I'm not lying. I've got, these are 100% polyester. They're more like MLG jerseys, but they're long sleeve. And I've got the logo there. And then again, we've got the baseball jerseys. They're pretty cool. They're actual baseball jerseys. The logos on the last two are printed on, and I think that's pretty cool. And Blu-ray Madness says you got a friend looking for editing work. Hit us up over on Instagram at Fight Night Picks and throw us a DM over there. So hopefully everybody enjoys the fight card. The super chat's absolutely insane. I appreciate you. Dan MMA Picks really loves Paulo Costa, so that's the way she goes. And Nige saying, if you had to choose an MVP spot for the lineup, who are you going with? Oh, that's a tough question because I'm not a DraftKings guy. Want Espino. So there's that. So everybody enjoy the fights. It should be a great card. You got a little bit more time before it starts. And holy smokes, I appreciate every one of you. And we're going to get Matt onto the show next week. I'll drag him out of work if I have to because Fight Night Picks is work for him. So thank you again. And enjoy the fights, UFC 253. We'll see you again next week. Peace.
It's time!
For 15 minutes of non-stop MMA, tackling the biggest news in the sport. Head into the chat and let us know how you feel. Live from Fredericton, New Brunswick,